How do you enter into the kingdom of heaven? Do what Noah did to make him immune from the flood. And that's to walk with God. And that's what this sermon is about. It's laying out the practical elements of that. And the practical elements are aim at the highest possible good and play that out in the world, and then you may have the opportunity to inhabit the highest possible good that you're positing into existence. Perhaps not, but you can't think of any more practical way of going about that. I mean, if you build a house, then maybe you can live in it. If you don't build a house, you're not going to be able to live in it. If you build a good house, then you'll be able to live in a good house. And if you build a perfect house, then maybe you can live in a perfect house. But if you just say that the house has already been built for you, and that you can just say that the house is being built for you, well then the probability that you're going to be able to live where you need to live is, there's no probability that you're going to be able to live where you need to live. Many will say to me in that day, that's the judgment day, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in thy name have cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works. And then I will profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you that work iniquity. See, that's judgment day, you know. That's an archetypal idea. And partly it's archetypal because every day is judgment day. And the part of you that's equivalent to the logos, say, the part of you that's your own ideal, sits in eternal judgment on your iniquity. And that's the source of guilt and shame and withdrawal, and then resentment, and then murderousness, and then genocide. It's because you can intuit the ideal, and the problem with intuiting the ideal is that an ideal is always a judge. There's no difference between an ideal and a judge, and so you're eternally judged by your own ideal. If you have no ideal, well then you've got no direction and no meaning in your life. And then of course the more extreme the ideal, the harsher the judge. That's actually why Jung was very curious about why the book of Revelation was tacked on to the Bible, because the book of Revelation, that's a very weird book. And you know, in the Gospels, Christ is, I would say, perhaps primarily merciful. There's maybe a war in his character between truth and mercy, but it's one of the two, perhaps mercy. And Jung's observation was the gospel Christ was too merciful. And that's why the book of Revelation was tacked on to the New Testament, because in the book of Revelation, Christ, who's the ideal, who's above the pyramid, right, the transcendent ideal, is nothing but a judge, and everyone fails.